Well, actually, we'll go to the room here first for the first question. If there's anybody here, you can come forward to the microphone for a question. Please identify yourself, your full name, plus your media outlet, who you're going to direct the question to, and then your question. Then we'll go immediately over to online, Nora. Then we'll go to another question in the room. If you're getting a one-on-one interview, we're going to ask that perhaps you refrain because you're going to have that one-on-one interview. For those who do not, we will take a question floor. Again, we're looking for one question per person. Thank you so much. Please proceed. Oh, just one second. Microphone, please. Check, check, check. Check.
Check, check. There we go. Hi there. My name is Neetu Garcha. I'm a journalist with Global News. First of all, my heart and my thoughts are with you, Chief Casimir, and the entire Tk'emlúps Secwépemc First Nation. My condolences to all of you. It was mentioned, and perhaps, Sarah, you're the best person to answer this question, that part of the reason these 2 acres out of 160 were selected for this GPR survey was because a juvenile rib bone and a tooth were discovered. Do you have any details on when those were discovered and by who? And if I can ask a follow-up after, I would appreciate. No, okay, that's okay.
I'm very strict on this one. You get one question, make it good. Thank you.
Thank you.
So we're going to Sarah Beaulieu, right to my first person to my right, please. Not yet. Now you.
Well, was yeah.
There we go.
The juvenile tooth was excavated, I think, in the late 90s or early 2000s in a shovel test pit during an archaeological excavation by Simon Fraser University. The juvenile rib was surfaced in the same area in the early 2000s and was brought into the museum by a tourist. And was identified, yes, identified as a juvenile rib bone and then documented subsequently from there.
Thank you so much. We're going to go over now to Lindsay Shepherd online. Nora, can you confirm, am I just asking the question from the chat or is she addressing? So from the chat, this is Lindsay Shepherd is from what media outlet, please? Identify yourself in the chat, Lindsay Shepherd, of what media outlet you're from. We'll go to the next question on the floor. Thank you so much. True North. So Lindsay Shepherd from True North. The question is for Sarah. Excavation plans to gain forensic evidence.
Sorry, one more time?
Excavation plans to gain forensic evidence.
I think with regards to forensics and anything else, social justice issues, it needs to be community-led. It wouldn't really be a question for myself to answer, but Chief Cookpee.
Thank you very much. We're going to go to the floor. Please identify yourself, what media outlet, and who you're addressing the question to, then your question.
Hello, it's Dirk Meisner. I'm a reporter with the Canadian Press, and this question is to Chief Casimir. It kind of goes on to the question just before. You had one of the survivors today say, leave the site alone, leave it undisturbed, don't disturb it. We're kind of hearing throughout this today that you might have to do more work, which includes excavation or digging. What more, I'm asking, what more are you planning to do?
Check. Thank you for the question. So I do know that we at TTS are community driven. We do know that our membership has been grappling with the information that has been shared, and we do know that every step that we do take moving forward, we're going to be having the community consultation with our membership. And of course, you know, there's been many questions surrounding, you know, it being a crime scene and what those steps. First and foremost, it is about love, honor, and respect, and dignity moving forward.
Thank you very much. We have Julio Rivas from FA, I believe it is, FA, and he asks for National Chief Archibald. Who will investigate crime scenes and what are the askings of the federal government? So Chief Archibald, National Chief Archibald.
What's the second part?
Who will investigate the crime scenes and what are you asking of the federal government?
These are crime scenes, and so we need some kind of independent investigation. We know that, for example, the RCMP are a part of children being taken from their families and communities, and so we need some kind of independent investigator on this process, and we need also international examination into these crimes. We did have a recent resolution passed at the AFN-AGA on the International Criminal Court being involved in this process. And so there are a number of moving parts that we still have to figure out. An investigation must occur, absolutely. And the federal government, their role is to make sure that records are provided, that they work with First Nation communities on the ground. As Chief Casimir just said, this has to be a community-driven process. And so we would look to the federal government certainly to provide the resources that we need to conduct thorough investigations. We heard earlier about forensics, investigations of the sites. There are many layers to this, and the federal government in one way is in a conflict of interest because it was their policies that actually initiated residential schools in Canada. At the same time, they have to be accountable. They have to be responsible. And so these are conversations that I am going to be having at some point with Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and members of his cabinet. We'll keep you posted. Miigwech.
Thank you so much. We're going to go to the floor. Just
Well,
There we go.
there we go, okay. My name's Jill Makashon, I'm with CTV National News, and this is a question for you, Dr., is it Sarah Beaulieu? Am I saying that right? Yeah. We had initially, in the beginning phases, heard of 215 potential unmarked graves. We just want clarification. 200 anomalies now. Is it more of a, are we understanding now more of the actual grave sites as opposed to what we first saw in late May?
No, nothing's changed. With ground penetrating radar, we can never say definitively that they are human remains until you excavate, which is why we need to hold back a little bit and say that they are probable burials, they are targets of interest for sure. They have signatures, multiple signatures that present like burials. But because of that, we do need to say that they are probable until one excavates.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you very much. Going to online, we have Zhang Li from City News for Cookbee. Can your community provide similar communities with costs of investigation? Oh, there we go. Check, check.
Check. Excellent. Thank you for that question. I know right now I can't exactly say what those numbers are until they're approved from the federal government, but we do know that there is a lot of work that needs to get done from every aspect, from looking at the costs that we've incurred to date, having to put up security and security at many levels, and also looking at the levels of professionals that we need to bring in to do those steps. And as we're going through each of those steps, I know all those costs are going to be confirmed as we go through step by step. We have put forward a preliminary budget and are working on a comprehensive budget to date. And I know most recently the provincial government made an announcement as well. And I know that part of that budget has also gone to the province as well.
Thank you so much. We'll go to the floor now, please.
Robin Gill with Global National News. This is for Roseanne. Given the age of the school, given how difficult it might be to find those records, how difficult is this going to be to actually identify, should this be actually a gravesite?
We're going to refer that question to Don Worme, who is our legal counsel, to provide technical support. Can you repeat the question, please?
Given the school is very old, given the fact that record keeping may not be accurate, how difficult is it going to be to actually identify should there actually be remains in those graves?
Well, I think what we can say firstly is that it's undeniable that those are graves. There is no question that there have been children gone missing. Our knowledge keepers from this community have told us so. We believe them. The work that needs to follow up on that has been outlined by Dr. Beaulieu. It is difficult work, but I think what you have borne witness today is a diligent community, is a powerful community that has worked extremely hard at revitalizing themselves, not just their culture and their language, but indeed their families and their people. I think that what you have seen is a fiercely independent nation, one that it is more than capable and exceptionally competent to engage in the sacred work as it's been described going forward. We are ready to engage in this work, and we have the experts on hand to be able to get on with the identification of these individuals and to conduct, as would be culturally appropriate, what type of excavations or exhumations that we have to go forward in terms of identifying these souls. Finally, once identified, there is, of course, a measure to be able to determine not just their identity, but where are their homelands and where would they be repatriated to. You heard from Cookby that the children who were interned at this place came from all over British Columbia and indeed northern Alberta and the Yukon as well. The work that is necessary is being done by competent people. You have the Culture and Language Department who have been extremely busy on this. They remind us of the cultural protocols that we are obliged to follow in the work going forward. Yes, there are concerns that there are differences in wishes, that some people wish the place to remain undisturbed. There are others who are calling for the identification of these people because they know that these are their children. We need to balance those competing interests, and with the assistance of and the capabilities of this community and the experts that they already have, this work will be done.
Thank you. I have a question for Alex McQueen from the Toronto Star. He is directing it to Cookby, but given what is being asked, I'm going to redirect it to our ground penetrating radar specialist, because it's about what are the factors to determine numbers of graves and ages of children. So Alex McQueen, we are redirecting your question to our technical expert, Sarah Beaulieu.
With regards to determining number of graves, as I went through on the slides, it was ruling out different anomalies such as root systems, stones, rocks, anything else under the surface that didn't present as a potential burial. With the notion of the targets of interest being children, the majority of the anomalies were between 0.7 and 0.8 meters below the surface, which is fairly shallow. It fits with the knowledge keepers' descriptions of children having to dig graves, for one. It also fits with when you have a juvenile burial, because they are smaller in length, they typically are not dug as deeply. So the length would have been taken into account in addition to the depth of the burial as well, to determine if the targets of interest were potentially children.
Thank you. We'll go to the floor.
Katie Nicholson, CBC News. This is for Cookby Casimir. You mentioned you're still waiting to hear from the Prime Minister, and I wonder if you could maybe sort of expand on what it is you expect from the PMO in terms of leadership on this.
What I would expect is, communication, direct communication, with our local government. And, I would really hope that he does take us up on our invitation for him to come September 30th and to, come and hear our survivor stories and to, acknowledge what happened here, where it started here in Canada. And with us having to carry that message forward and to where we are to date.
Thank you. We'll take one more question from the floor, and we're wrapping up with that. Oh, I see another person agitated, so we'll go here and then there, and then we're wrapping up. Thank you so much. Go ahead.
Hi, sorry, Sydney Chisholm, Castanet, Kamloops.
I'm sorry, you got your mask on, and that's great, but it's a little muffled, so try again.
Sorry, Sydney Chisholm, Castanet, Kamloops. Sorry, I was just hoping to clarify, has any site been excavated yet, and is the 215 number still accurate?
That's Sarah
Check.
Beaulieu. Yeah, go ahead.
As far as excavation for these burials, nothing has been excavated yet. The number is 200, so once the survey was completed, I received, subsequent to the survey, archaeological reports that discussed impact assessments and excavation that had been done in the same area. And so I had to rule out where those excavations had taken place in the late 90s, early 2000s, and see if they impacted where I had done my survey, which is why I concluded with 200.
Thank you very much. We'll take a final question here.
Thank
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you so much. This is Kim McCrail from the Wall Street Journal. This question is for Dr. Beaulieu, and I'm sorry if I'm not pronouncing that correctly. I'm just wondering if you could walk through a little bit about how you became involved in the first place. Did the community ask you to come in, and what were the steps that you took that led to the actual finding?
With this particular site, when I work closely with Dr. Eldon Yellowhorn at Simon Fraser University. He's a professor in the Indigenous department there, who has a relationship with Tk'emlúps here. And because of the work I've done and his knowledge of what I do with GPR, it was a recommendation through there where I was invited to survey for Tk'emlúps.
Thank you very much to all the media, both online and in person. I am going to call up, if we still have present, all of the Tk'emlúps Chief and Counsel back here, because we were missing a couple of our council members for that very first shot.